40 for Rateable Crest Titans.
Here we go then, round 4 of the Comp Safari Interclub Championship, and it would take the cruise back to Wales. A challenging course, in fact, at Green Hall, a favourite with our Comp Safari cruise. Let's head out into those challenging morning runs, and it will be business as usual for Kevin Stubbs, leading the way with a small advantage at the front, but enough to show that he meant business right from the start once again. It would be a different name chasing Stubbs down in second place though. Stewart and Joshua Winter chasing down the leader at this stage. They would, however, break the front diff on the final run of the morning. The afternoon may see some changes. For Mike Hannock, it would be third, still looking for that elusive first win. Sadly, there would already be almost half a minute's deficit to the lead after 3 runs. A tall order then to make up that much time in the afternoon, but the chase was on. Scott Whitmore and Tim Farndon, meanwhile, will be enjoying the course this weekend. Going well too, the pair lying 4th in the class and in the overall results at the midpoint of the day. For Gary Bull, it will be 5th. The Metro driver putting in some good times, knocking almost a minute off his opening run time as well on the following runs of the day. Things would also be going well for Warren Roper. Not quite the lead of the event that he would have wanted and perhaps was expected to be fighting for, but 6th place for now was a good, strong start going into the afternoon. And after blowing the rear diff at the second round and the front diff at round 3, Wyn Williams and Bert Buller would certainly be hoping that their bad luck and those mechanical gremlins were over. Certainly for this round, things were going well so far. 7th place in class and on the overall leaderboard. Jake and Mark Burgess make a good start to their event. Leading class 2 at this stage, they would break the steering though on the 3rd run of the day. Thankfully, it would be over the finish line and the pair actually record their fastest time of the day so far. Time to get that car fixed for the afternoon runs. In Class 8, it would be a strong start for this man, Paul Rowlands. He leads the way there, as well as lying inside our top 10 in 9th. And rounding out that all-important top 10 leaderboard would be Ian Childs and Andrew Wolsey. Andy not having competed in some time, so he will be getting used to being back out there on the course. 2nd in Class 2 for the pair, 10th overall. Let's take a look then, as we always do, at some of the class fights outside of the top 10, and it will be 2nd in Class 8 for Ollie and Phil Booth. No problems to report for the pair. They end the morning in 13th on the leaderboard. There would, though, be problems for Simon and Alex Cooper. They break the rear diff on the 2nd run of the day, but worse was to come on run 3, the gearbox input shaft breaking. The end of the road for the team at this early stage in the event. It will be a new co-driver in the hot seat for Tom Smith this weekend. Chris Cohen stepping in after regular co-driver Sam hurt his back. Things were going well for the pair so far. Class 7 lead, 16th overall. The Class 3 fight would be a close one this morning, meanwhile, with Peter Noonan coming out on top after the first 3 runs of the day. A favourite event for Peter, so he was expecting a good result, no pressure. And just behind Noonan in the class would be Grant Mitchell-Smith, 2nd in Class 3 as well as 19th overall, just 4 seconds separating the class leaders at the midpoint in the event. The morning wasn't quite going to plan for everyone, and that included Lewis Simon and Chris Aldridge. They don't notice a ditch while overtaking, hitting it too quickly and breaking 2 prop shaft bolts in the process. They were able to continue, but as you might expect, a little more cautiously. For a change, though, things were going to plan for Simon Lee and Phil Parker. Another new co-driver this season. Phil from a rally co-driver background, but not for a number of years. Things going well inside the car as well as outside. The pair lying 3rd in the class at the midpoint of the day. There's just the one crew in Class 9 this weekend, so for Liam Griffin, it was a fight against the clock. Just a case of getting to the finish, perhaps. Always easier said than done, especially on challenging courses like this one here in Wales, but for now, things were going okay. Things were also going smoothly for this man, Nigel Alcock. Carol Shaw alongside. Carol back out again for this round. And things going well for the pair so far. Second in Class 4 at this stage and 30th on the leaderboard. Here's the Class 6 battle. There would only be a few seconds between our crews here. Bill Hewitson taking the early lead in the class by just 3 seconds, showing just how close it is. And behind Hewitson on the leaderboard would be this man, Mark Allard. Second in the class. He'd be looking to change that around in the afternoon runs with a big push. A little more attrition in the morning. Here's Graham and Sandy Ponton, who would start the day well, but a broken front axle on the second run would mark the end of the event for the pair and an early trip home. So with the morning complete, the leaderboard at the top is shaping up like this. Here we go then, on to the afternoon runs after an eventful and closely fought morning throughout the classes, it had to be said. It will be a problem-filled day for this man, Tim Mangum, with Dan Barron alongside. They keep the car on its wheels at least, but a puncture on the fourth run, followed by a steering bolt joint failure on run 5 would be enough to end the day early for the pair. Tim Padfield and Mike Petit, meanwhile, were still suffering with some overheating problems that have plagued them so far this season, of course. Their biggest drama would have come before the start of the event, though, spending Saturday changing the transfer box with the help of fellow competitors, just so that they could even make the start of the event on Sunday morning. That Class 6 battle from this morning would still be raging on. There'd be no change, though. It would still be Mark Allard taking second in the class at the end of the event this weekend. Which, of course, would mean the win for this man, Bill Hewitson, first in the class, as well as a deserved 30th overall. A slow start to the day for Joe and Rupert Asprey would be put down to incompetent navigation from husband Rupert. We'll leave them with that one. They do have a problem, though, with the fuel tank and the car cutting out as well, but end the event with 4th in the class, 29th overall. Some good times on the board this weekend for Jasmine Philpott and Peter Widdup in the morning would sadly be ruined with a maximum on run 3. A broken gearbox causing the time loss. Thankfully, they get it fixed in service, but that would mean 28th overall was the best that they could hope for this time out. And we think you'll agree, that was pretty uncharacteristic after previous performances. Jasmine, though, would have the upper hand in the family battle by the finish, with Dad Tim Philpott sadly not making it to the end of the event at all. A few problems with the engine cutting out would slow him, but it would eventually be mechanical problems putting him out on the penultimate run of the day. A misfire in the morning, meanwhile, would slow Martin Smith and Loz Davies down a little. Thankfully, the afternoon would go much smoother for the pair. They end the event 5th in Class 2. Nigel Alcock and Carol Shaw have a bit of a moment in the afternoon, clipping a tree without any damage. How they got away with that, we will never know, but they do get away with it this time and end the event 3rd in Class 4, continuing their good run of podium positions on every round this season. John Hewitson finishes the event with a strong result in Class 4, taking 2nd place there, as well as 23rd on the overall leaderboard. And with just himself in the class and battling against the clock, it would be victory for Liam Griffin in Class 9. He did, of course, need to get to that finish. It's not as easy as it sounds. Some good times to end the event as well, 22nd overall. Walking a course like this is so important, and without any time to do so, it will be a blind lap to start the event for Paul and Kyle Shaw. Despite that, they have a good, clean run to end the event with 4th in Class 2, 20th on the leaderboard. It will be a slightly less aggressive push to the finish for Lewis Simon and Chris Aldridge. They do, though, manage to nurse that car forward for the Class 4 victory here in Wales. For Simon Lee and Phil Parker, things had gone to plan, it was fair to say. They reached the end of the event for the first time this season. A step in the right direction at last. And the result was a good one as well, especially for their first time at this venue. 16th overall for the pair. Third in class that they'd held this morning, of course. There'd be a few mistakes during the afternoon for Peter Noonan, but nothing too dramatic. He gets away with them, reaching the end of the event with second in Class 3, as well as a 14th place finish. It was a story of attrition in Class 7. By the end of the event, in fact, there would only be Tom Smith and Chris Cohen left. They survived the rest of the crews to take that class victory, of course, then by the finish, 13th place overall. And it will be the Class 3 victory for Grant Mitchell-Smith, a place that he managed to take in the afternoon runs on merit, and a good overall result as well with 12th. No real problems to report for Ollie and Phil Booth this weekend. They take second place in Class 8, as well as sitting just outside our top 10 leaderboard at the finish in 11th. Let's head on to that competitive top 10 then, and it would be Colin Davies rounding out the top of our results. 7th in the extremely competitive Class 1 as well this weekend. Now, with that steering box repaired, it will be a good, strong finish for Jake and Mark Burgess. Second place in Class 2 by the finish, 9th place overall. And the afternoon would see this man, Richard Kesey, jump up into the top 10. The time is getting faster all day long. He ends the event 8th overall. There'd be last-minute drama for Ian Childs and Andrew Wolsey. A snapped front driveshaft on the last run of the day, threatening a finish and a good result. Thankfully, they got to the end and with enough time in hand to take the Class 2 victory as well as 7th overall. Paul Rowlands has been staying out of trouble, working his way up the leaderboard through the afternoon runs, moving his way, in fact, up the results to end the event with 6th place overall this weekend as well as the Class 8 victory. Things were finally going in the right direction as well for Wynne and Megan Williams. They get to the finish of an event after a few non-finishes this season, which would be welcomed in itself. It wasn't without its dramas, though. A misfire, for example, towards the end would need looking at, and there was still some work to be done on the suspension settings on that car. But they end the event with a solid and satisfying 5th place this weekend. As we get closer to the top of our leaderboard, we wouldn't see as much change. Scott Whitmore and Tim Farndon ending the event with 4th overall and in the class, a little way back from our podium finishers. We move then on to those all-important podium places, and it will be 3rd this weekend for Mike Hannock, still looking for that victory, and this time having to settle for that 3rd place. A podium nothing to be sniffed at, of course, though, in such a competitive series. The biggest change, though, perhaps would come for Kevin Stubbs, leading the event for most of the day. He dropped down to 2nd in the final run of the day. A disappointing and somewhat dramatic end to what looked like being another victory, but still a good result to end the weekend. Solid points on that championship leaderboard. But that does mean it's victory for this man, Stuart Winter. Joshua Winter alongside another crew adding their names to the winners list this season. A great end to what hadn't been a completely trouble-free event for the pair. So here's that confirmation then of the final results here at Green Hall. Next up, the crews stay in Wales and head north to join the North Wales Land Rover Club event on the bank holiday weekend. And with the championship now into its 2nd half of the season, we surely won't be spared any of the drama we've seen so far this season and that you've come to expect. And you'll see it all right here on Special Stage. Welcome to round 5 of the British Historic Rally Championship. It will be the first time on the asphalt for the crews as the championship stays in Wales, but this time on the notorious Epynt military ranges. On to the first of the Harry Flatters stages then, and it would be a welcomed return for Nick Elliott and Dave Price after Nick broke his wrist earlier in the season. Clearly, they still had their pace, leading after the morning stages with a slim 4-second advantage, boding well for some drama today. Second place at this stage would be our Category 2 leaders Stanley Orr and Graham Henderson, the pair mixing with the top of the leaderboard once again. Second place overall and of course with that leading their class. Fresh from a good result on the previous round and brimming with confidence, Simon Webster and Jez Rogers will be looking for a repeat of that here on the asphalt. It wasn't quite the lead at this stage that they'd be looking for, but third place was a very strong way to end the morning. Things had started well for this man, David Kynaston, Val Thompson alongside. Not normally seen at the top of the overall results in that triumph. But of course, David knows these stages well. He knows where to push. And indeed, a winner on Epping in the past. They get off to a great start with 4th overall. For Joe Price and Chris Brooks, it would be 5th, just 3 seconds back from Kynaston up ahead, and indeed only 16 off the lead. It was still all to play for in the afternoon, and the story was set up for a treat. 6th place at this stage would belong to Steve Bennett and Ocean Owen. 2nd place last time out was a great result, and the pair will be wanting to take as many points away from this weekend as well. 6th place for now, as well as 4th in the class as the pair try to maximise their advantage. Just behind though, and chasing hard in the class and overall leaderboards, were Barry Stevenson Wheeler and John Pickervance. 5th place in D5 for now, as well as 7th on the leaderboard. 8th place was hardly where Rudy Lancaster and Guy Weaver came out of the blocks, hoping to be fighting. But as with those up above them on that leaderboard, there wasn't a massive amount of time separating them. In fact, they were on an identical time to the crew up ahead. 8th place overall for the pair at this stage. Would it be Wheeler and Pickervance or Lancaster and Weaver at the end of the next loop out on top? Just behind Lancaster overall will be Lee Ashbury and Terry Mallin, the pair lying 6th in the class as well for now in that escort. And rounding out a particularly fighty top 10 overall would be Chris Skill and Tom Murphy, 2nd in the Cat 2 battle as well this weekend, although a little way back from the lead there. Of course, the drama wasn't just relegated to the top 10 though, so let's take a look at some of the class positions outside of that top 10 leaderboard. And it will be the D3 class lead for this man Josh Brown, Jane Edgington alongside, lying in 11th place as well. Just the one crew competing this weekend for the B4 class honours, and indeed competing against the clock in Category 1. So that means it's the lead there for veteran driver Bob Bean, Malcolm Smithson as well in 14th position. And just behind them, rounding out the results at this stage, were Malcolm and Ronald Mounsey, 1st in the D2 class, 15th place overall. So with the morning's stages complete and some great variety at the top of the leaderboard, here's how the results are starting to shape up on the Harry Flatters Rally for 2019. On we go then to the afternoon stages, and there'd be no change out there on the ranges in the class for Malcolm and Ronald Mounsey. They take the D2 class points but also move up to 13th. With just themselves to prove it all to in the B4 class, it would be victory there for Bob Bean and Malcolm Smithson. Of course, their eyes then on the overall leaderboard. They get the Category 1 win, but they take 11th place overall. And indeed, there would be a few people moving the right way up that leaderboard. Paul Street and Ian Jones now one of those crews. They round out our top 10 at the end of the rally. Just ahead of them on the results after a big push were Phil and Mick Squires. 9th place to end the rally this weekend, as well as 6th in the class. No change though as far as the class goes for Chris Skill and Tom Murphy. They still lead the way in that class at this stage, and indeed in the category overall. This due in most part to the loss of Stanley Orr and Graham Henderson. The escort pairs event coming to an early end, making things somewhat easier for Skill and Murphy. Back to our finishers though as we move through that leaderboard, and it will be 7th place to end the rally this weekend for Barry Stevenson Wheeler and John Pickervance. They take 5th in the D5 class as well. Rudy Lancaster and Guy Weaver may be the only crew remaining in the G2 class, but they end the rally with an impressive 6th place overall, confirming their 2nd place in the championship standings at this stage as well. Another strong result this weekend sees Steve Bennett and Ocean Owen taking 5th overall. They climb the championship points with that result to lie 3rd. And it's a spirited drive over the Epint ranges this weekend for David Kynaston and Val Thompson that sees them end the rally with 4th. Their experience over these stages shining through here at round 5, more than doubling their points tally total for the season on just this one round. On we go then to the podium positions, and it would be 3rd for last round winners Simon Webster and Jez Rogers. A great end to the rally and a result that puts them in a slim 2-point lead at the top of the championship standings going into the 6th round of the season. After missing the last rally, it will be back to some good points for Joe Price and Chris Brooks, and they needed them as well. 2nd place for the pair here at the Harry Flatters Rally was satisfying, although they miss out on victory by just 3 seconds. It may not have been that satisfying for Price, but it sure was for this man. It was victory for Nick Elliott and Dave Price. A great return to the stages, showing that they meant business and they'd lost nothing of the edge. The championship fight may have all but disappeared for now for Elliott, but that wasn't going to stop them fighting for those rally victories and entertaining us all in the process. So here's your confirmation then of the final results here at the 5th round of the championship. Next up, for the British Historic Rally Championship Cruise, it's back to the asphalt again, this time over the water on the Ulster Rally. Keep an eye on our page for coverage of this iconic event in the coming weeks.
Care 40 for Rateable Crest Titans.